Where Winds Meet is a massive open-world RPG set in 10th century China. It's coming out later this year, and I'm fortunate enough to share my thoughts after playing the game early. So today I'm going to share everything you should know about this game, plus my experience after 10 hours played. Before we jump in, this video is sponsored by Where Winds Meet. It comes out later this year on PlayStation 5 and PC, and you can wishlist the game now by clicking my link in the description below. Let's start with some background info. What kind of game is Where Winds Meet? Like I said, it's an open world action adventure RPG where you can go anywhere at any time on a vast map, and there's no fixed paths or pressure. You get to move at your own pace and do really whatever you want to do. For example, anywhere that you want to go and you can see, you can actually get there. You can run up the walls, you can double jump up the side and get to the top of a mountain and look out over the entire map. Or if you see a cave and you want to dive underneath and look underground, you can explore those caverns. If you see a little lake and you want to dive underneath the water and explore what's underneath, you can do that too. But unlike most open world games out there, this one is special because of its setting in 10th century China. So you get all of that rich history and lore, and this game centers around the Wuxia experience, which is this flashy, over-the-top, martial arts focused experience. So I'm not even talking about the combat specifically, but just how the people talk to you and interact in this world. It's all through this lens that feels like you've stepped into this ancient era. You feel this when you're walking around the massive cities, which we'll focus on in just a second here, but also the people that you stop and talk to. There are so many different unique NPCs that you can walk up and talk to and see what they need help with, and you can even find these Chinese-style mini-games, which took me a second to figure out, but yeah, once you do, it all just brings you into this setting in this world. Speaking of, there's a real focus on immersion with this game. There's even an immersive mode if you want to get rid of all of the HUD and just hide that and soak in what you're looking at. You can do that at any time. And yeah, it is a very pretty world. Let's briefly talk about this story. You play as a young swordmaster whose hometown was burned down by enemies. Your adoptive parents are missing, so you head out into the martial world to look for them, and to get revenge on the ones who destroyed everything. This leads him across the lands, eventually to Kaifeng City, and along the way, you're just trying to learn more about martial arts and become a better fighter. So you'll learn mystical arts, martial arts, and collect a lot of different weapons. At the very start, you get to create your own character with hundreds of different facial customization options. I mean, they really let you fine-tune the details. If you want to pick a specific part of the face to make it look a particular way, you can do that. You can also generate a face by giving a text description or by submitting a photo. So I took this still from one of the videos I made recently where I look really dumb, and this is what the game generated for me. And I'm not gonna lie, it weirdly kind of does look like me. A big part of the presentation of this game is the cutscenes, and so when you make your custom character, you're going to stay with that custom character throughout. You can change your appearance at any time, and there's actually a big focus on the cosmetic side of this game where whatever you're wearing, it's going to show up in the cutscenes, and you can change this whenever you want to. And there are a lot of cutscenes, so if you really want to slow down and learn more about the story, meet all of the characters, and soak in this world, there's plenty of opportunity to do that. It's also worth noting you can play this game by yourself or with friends. There's a drop-in, drop-out co-op mode where you can team up with a few companions to conquer challenges if you want to. However, you don't have to. You can play all by yourself, which is what I did for 99% of my 10 hours. So you can switch modes at any time, very similar to games like Monster Hunter Wilds. But I will say it is worth exploring the online mode just for the interactions alone. Everyone I've met so far has been really nice to me. For example, I had an injury from dying, something was wrong with my head, and then I had an illness from something in my bag that gave me a key disturbance. I hopped in chat and asked for help. Somebody sent me an invitation to their world, so I teleported over, and they did like this really quick ritual where they checked my pulse and then cured my condition. Then they bowed to me and I didn't know what to do, so I gave them a porcelain pot as like a thanks, like a reward, and they weren't expecting it. And I don't know, it was just a nice little way of interacting with another human. Now let's take a moment to talk about this world. In Where Winds Meet, This is the first open world game set in ancient China, and what's really impressive to me, once you get there, it's the second zone of the game. It's called Kaifeng City, and what is insane about this place is it does what I don't think any other open world game I know of has done before. Every single building in this city is accessible. You can enter it and go inside of it. And these aren't just cookie cutter buildings. Like, I'm sure some of these are the same, but really when I took a tour of this place, I went in as many buildings as I possibly could, and they all felt unique to me. And a lot of them had unique named NPCs that I could talk to. As you guys know, I play plenty of open world games here on the channel, and this is just something that doesn't exist for the most part that I know of. This simply isn't possible in most games. However, it is in Where Winds Meet. Now, how much you're actually able to do in these buildings and explore, of course, your mileage may vary, but it is insane, and the size of Kaifeng City is crazy too. The scale of this and the detail of what you're able to look at and all of the NPCs walking around, it's kind of crazy. I'm sure you've noticed from the gameplay so far that there's plenty beyond the city. The world spans different villages, there's grasslands, of course, lots of very pretty environments like waterfalls and mountains and hidden caverns and caves that you can go inside of and explore. For me, the Colossus was probably one of the prettier places that I visited. It's this massive statue where if you go near here, you're gonna get sucked into a side quest that brings you underneath into this sort of mystical feeling place with this glowing blue tree and a mini boss. Speaking of, let's talk about the side content in this game. You've got the main storyline, which is cutscene heavy and you're following point to point, beat to beat, but you also have a lot of side content that really fleshes out the world and it brings you on a little adventure. But it's high quality stuff. I was surprised going into these. I was expecting, follow NPC, do mission, get reward, and then leave. A lot of these have their own unique cutscenes and unique areas that you will only enter specifically for that side story. Along the way, you'll learn something about, again, the history and the story, and also a martial art or a mystical art. A lot of these people exist just to teach you something and sort of deepen and further your understanding of how to play the game. Some highlights for me, like I said, underneath the Colossus is a really cool side story that I won't spoil. Another one is talking to this random fisherman who teaches you about the lightness skill, which is this really cool ability to jump up into the air and literally fly around. And that's a method of traveling around this world that you can use. Apparently, there's over 1,000 unique NPCs in this game, and I absolutely believe it because, again, in my 10 hours played, I've traveled over a large portion of this map, and I've met so many different people that have multiple lines of dialogue that all connect back to the central story. So it's crazy to walk around this world and meet somebody in like the first chapter of the game, and then zoom forward many hours later and meet that very same character later on. These people stick around when they're relevant, and it's really cool. There's also a dynamic time and weather system that will change on the fly. So obviously time marches on, day and night cycle, but then weather, you'll have a rainstorm roll in, there'll be high winds, and then it'll clear out. And sometimes it'll be foggy outside and it's harder to see around the world. All of these elements combine for a rich open world that makes it feel alive. It feels like you're actually exploring in ancient China. It's also not a static world. So for example, if you bump into NPCs, they're gonna get mad at you. And if you keep doing it, they're going to attack you. So this is an interactive world. If you walk into a village and do something, the guards are gonna chase you and come after you. Another way you feel this is that you're able to steal things. You can steal items, and if NPCs see you, they will come after you. You can also steal horses. So early on in the game, before you even get a horse, I was able to find someone on a horse, and they were luckily, a bandit. So I whacked them and then stole the horse. One of the earliest side activities I found was an oddity, and as it suggests, it was very odd to see this bear trying to reach this honey, and then the game turns around and shows me how to use Tai Chi to direct its movement against itself and throw it into these rocks here. But yeah, as you're exploring the world, you're gonna find tons of treasure chests to open with various rewards. There's lots of different mini games you can find. Some of them require 2 players. Others, like archery and wrestling, you can take on by yourself. And yeah, it's just a good time. Easily one of the highlights of my experience so far is just turning on immersive mode and slowly walking around the city. It really makes you feel like you're in a busy, populated place in ancient China. It's time to finally dig into the other huge part of this game, and that's the combat. So Where Winds Meet is a true Wuxia experience. It's the first open world game where combat is based entirely within Chinese martial arts. While the world itself is realistic and it's trying to convince you you're in ancient China, the combat is flashy and cinematic, and it's inspired by classic wuxia films and novels. You feel this with the various different weapon types you can master. There's 7 different weapons. For me, I stuck with twin blades and the longsword for the majority of my playtime. But the game also lets you use a bow and arrow if you want to lay down some fire from range. I would definitely describe this combat as being Souls-like because it does have that challenge of paying attention to your enemies and reacting accordingly. You can dodge attacks, you can parry them with the right timing. There's some attacks that are unblockable, but most of the attacks in this game you can parry with the right timing. So it has that risk reward kind of built into it. But you also have a lot of fluidity and mobility, which is what you get from action RPGs that this game also has. So it's not, strictly speaking, just a Souls-like kind of experience. This is what a typical fight looks like for me. I build up charge with my twin blade quick attacks until I have flame lash, and then I can click Y to enter this special mode where I deal more damage, and also all of my damage heals me too. Then I'll use mystical arts like my Tai Chi ability to throw enemies around whatever arena I'm in, and then also some basic martial arts moves like spinning forward with my swords to close the gap between me and my enemy. I also unlocked this dual blade ability which switches weapons automatically for you. I haven't mentioned you can have 2 weapons equipped at a time and you can swap between them by hitting down on the D-pad, but this specific ability incorporates that into a combo. So there's a lot of possibilities here between mixing and matching skills and abilities in combat to suit whatever playstyle that you want to play. Of course, the best way to show off the combat in this game is through the boss battles, and there's some really intense ones even in the first 10 hours of the game so far. My favorite so far has been the Enchantress because of the stage and the music and sort of the spectacle of it all. It's really cool. She has these large sweeping attacks with her giant sickle, and of course if you get the timing right, you can do a counter move and deal massive damage. I also fought a horse boss earlier, and if it sounds ridiculous, it is, but this guy had a lot of unique moves and he was just kicking my butt. I failed several times, so the game was like, hey, do you want to turn on auto parry? And so that is an option where the game says, you know what, you're struggling here. Maybe you don't have the right stats or you're, not suited for this fight. We're going to go ahead and help you by auto parrying attacks so you can get through it. And of course, that turned the fight into something I could handle. So while this is a Souls-like game, the mechanics actually change if you go onto easy mode. Instead of changing the stats underneath the hood, it allows you to get through these fights with a little more ease if you're having trouble. If you're curious, this game also has some sneaking and assassinations. If you want to be stealthy, there's a move you can pull off to silently assassinate enemies, similar to a game like Assassin's Creed. As you can tell, it's super satisfying to pull off, and yeah, it feels good to take out people without them even knowing you're there. After my 10 hours of playtime with Where Winds Meet, I came away feeling that I had barely scratched the surface with the game. There's so many different things going on. Every time you complete a quest, you unlock something that gives you a reward. Even touching random objects will unlock things that you can build in the world or add to your cosmetic gallery. It's just a game that's sort of bursting at the seams with content, and best of all, guys, it's a free-to-play game. The only things that you can spend money on in this game are cosmetic skins with no pay-to-win because the skins don't have any stats. This is also a game that's going to have frequent DLC updates, which again will all be free. So it's ever evolving. They're going to keep adding onto this game as development continues. And yeah, I came away impressed with what I played, especially about the scale of like how many NPCs I was seeing, how big the city is, and how much detail is packed in. I don't know about you guys, but whenever I play a game that's in a historical setting where I can just kind of walk around, talk to the NPCs, really soak in the vibe and experience, yeah, I'm having a good time. One piece of feedback that I'd like to leave for the developers before launch is I think there's a little too many systems going on at once. Sometimes it feels a bit overwhelming and under-explained. So I think that is something that, since this is the final beta before the game comes out, that they could definitely work on and improve before the game comes out later this year. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something about where winds meet. Again, the game comes out later this year on PlayStation 5 and PC, and you can wishlist the game now by clicking my link in the description below. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and if you did, remember to hit that like button. I'd really appreciate it. And also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and ring the bell so you don't miss my next one. Thank you guys once again for watching, and I will talk to you guys next time.